Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us up until this far. Like I said earlier, today we get to look at gender-based violence, but this time amongst the youth. We are on the hashtag 16 based violence that ends on Saturday the 10th, which is this coming Saturday. And with me, I have Karibu sana.
Asante.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Yes.
Karibu sana kwenye show.
Thank you.
Take us through who's Wesley before we get into the conversation for today.
Wesley Tom is a student at Kenyatta University, currently in my final year, doing Bachelor of Arts in Gender and Development Studies. I'm also the chairperson of Kenyatta University Gender Action Movement. It's a club within KU that deals with gender issues and also how to ensure that the university, especially the student, know about gender issues. On the same, I'm an activist, an apologetic one actually, but my focus is on youth and governance, and especially the boy child, and also I'm an entrepreneur. Yes.
All right. We have the perfect person for today's conversation. Gender-based violence amongst the youth. What do you think is the main cause for gender-based violence amongst the youth?
So just to begin with, gender-based violence is any type of violence perpetrated to any person due to their gender. So there have been a number of reasons why GBV happens, but the key thing is the reason why it continues to occur is because youths do not have the information about what a GBV is. So many times they get violated, but they don't understand that this type of violence. So that is a major reason why. And also we have the issue of power dynamics, being that there's somebody who's bigger than you and the one smaller than you. It helps propagate that. On the same, we've got cultural beliefs and aspect that also has participated a lot in that, because your culture says this, you have to ascribe to that, and that one ensures that a lot of GBV cases increases. On the other hand, also when you come to the issues of religious, so some religion might make somebody get violated just because you need to follow some certain cultural norms, certain religious and doctrines. So these are the key reasons why the key challenges that we have that has made GBV to get propagated so much into youths. Yes.
There's also the aspect of the young people. Most of them have not properly learned how to embrace no for an answer. Most of the young people don't understand how to embrace rejection, hence how we've seen a lot of murder cases, especially in relationships. How do you think, or what do you think can be done in regards to that in particular?
Just maybe for us to find a solution, we should know where the problem is coming from.
You can start by that. Why is the problem?
So in psychology, we have something called fixation. So fixation is a place whereby during the stages of development, an individual never cleared the stage. So these things, the behaviors comes and propagate themselves in the near future. So that's why you get these people do not know the right method to solve their problem. So at some point they sort to murder because they can't stand seeing the person they loved leaving them. But this is something that started from their home. Another reason is GBV that happens within home, that is domestic violence. Maybe somebody was brought up in a family where there's a lot of violence, he was violated, but throughout his life period, these people never seek some psychological mentorship or counseling. So they end up becoming perpetrator because they want to do the same thing they were done for when they were young. So it comes something called inferiority complex. So when you find somebody that you can do something to them and they can't react back, then you take advantage of that and do that, because at the end of the day, there's nothing they're going to do to you. And also, you're finding a place whereby you can take revenge for what you have done for in your past years. So what we always advise individuals, just in case you have gone through GBV, the best thing is to seek for guidance and counseling, so that you are taught on ways on how you can relieve yourself, and to ensure that these cases do not repeat, and also to ensure that you don't become a perpetrator in the near future. Yeah.
So as the young people, you've talked about fixation. These people who cannot afford to go get therapy, like you said, go talk to someone or go get the help they need. What other things can they do to learn how to accept the no for an answer, or learn how to walk past a heartbreak, or how to walk past such kind of situations?
For me, I think with the current generation, I don't think if getting psychological counseling is very difficult, because these are things you can access within your institution of learning. You can access them within the religious groups that we have. You can access them within youth groups, mentorship. So you can access them from the government. Actually, there's a plan to have counseling being offered within our hospital. And also NHIF is planning to have it as a package, so that when you're covered under NHIF, it's very easy to you to seek psychological counseling. So these are things very easy to get. But also in the digital world, it's very easy to know and find ways of non-violent peace resolution through checking on the internet. And also what we really advise young people to do is speak up. There's no need for you, when you're done for something wrong, you keep silent, because when you keep silent, the anger will continue rising, and you'll find yourself killing somebody. So you rather speak up and get help. The social media is there to really help, and I believe the social media has helped a lot of people come out from these GBV issues. Yes.
Okay, social media has its positives, but it also has its negatives. You've seen social media being a perpetrator of violence as well.
Yeah.
How do you think you can tackle? How do you filter the information as a young person, the information you consume, especially from social media? Like earlier on, I read a tip on how to identify. Don't do the things that you see or hear or watch, yeah? But then how can you as a young person stay away from all these things, especially the negatives on social media in regards to violence?
I believe that goes back to learning. You need to understand what is good for you and what's not good for you, and that's what will be able to ensure that you pick the right thing. So it goes back to morality. So that's why we are really urging youths, let them go for learning, because through learning you get to learn morality, also religious, for those who are religious. But within the social media, it's just good for you to know who to follow and who not to follow, and who to get the right content. But also we are calling for multi-stakeholder engagement, to have even the government have ways to punish those who are propagating DBV, especially within the social media. There is cyberbullying, because actually it's been really a lot. So just to call and for us to have policy against such things, and to ensure that they reduce. But the most important thing, if you need to stay safe, then you need to stay away from the negative aspect within the social medias.
There's things like body shaming, like you said, cyberbullying, and it's a lot. And it goes both ways. There's the things women say to men, and the things men say to women, which is, I could say, gender-based. Is it gender-based violence?
Yeah, that's gender-based violence. Yes.
How do we work around that? Tutakosana pale Twitter, and someone will say some things and you will just walk past it. We go, we laugh, and no one cares about the one who's been told the negative things, and we move on to the next one.
So that one goes back to psychological counseling, especially on anger management. So we are really urging individuals, let them go and get these lessons. They're free within online. You can know how to manage your anger, and you can know what to say. So we'll always talk about constructive feedback. There's no point for you to give a negative feedback. And human beings are social human beings, and I believe you'll want to be told something negative about yourself. So we should learn about giving constructive feedback, despite how harsh they may be, but let it be something constructive, something that will not diminish the other person, because maybe today it might be you perpetrating GBV to someone else. Tomorrow it will be you. So it's ways of finding what to say and what not to say. And just in case your anger rises and you say it, then find a way to apologize, because you never know, you might end up in a court for saying something, because those are evidences that will be used against you while saying something, because social media is something that you cannot erase the messages you send via social media. So
where are these places we get this information from? Where do we get these lessons? Where do we get this therapy you've talked about? You said we get them online. We can get them where exactly?
There are a lot of non-governmental organizations that offer such things. One, we have Pathfinder. It offers free counseling services to youths, and there are actually some mapped hospital within Nairobi. In each and every constituency, there's a hospital whereby you can go and get free counseling services. Kenya Red Cross Society also offers free counseling services. You just need to dial their hotline number, and you'll be given free of charge. You have Action Aid Kenya that also offers counseling services. And something good about it, it has got a youth cafe in each and every sub-county. there's a youth cafe, a place whereby youth can come and interact, and you can share out ideas on how you can be able to learn, because something interesting about youth, they learn through their peers. So the platform already existing. It's enough for the youth to come up to this platform and get able to learn.
Right. So moving forward, there's drugs and peer pressure. What role is drugs and peer pressure playing in regards to gender-based violence among the youth?
I can say drug is the major factor that plays out, especially when it comes to GBV, because once you're on drug, these things that will affect your mental judgment. So you might be able to find yourself doing things that you couldn't believe doing, but this is because the issue of drug. Also, drug might come as a result of GBV. When you have been in your home, there's a lot of domestic violence, and like you're trying to find ways to relieve yourself, and like you're being told, take alcohol or take a bang. So these are things that when you continue taking, you think that you're going to get relief, but rather it's causing you more pain, and that's where you'll end up youth, especially in physical violence. And that's been majorly a lot when it comes to boys, and it affects a number of boys. But peer pressure, it's 50-50, because it depends on the peer group that you are in. So you just better be in the right group that will fit you to avoid wrangles if you want to succeed in life. Yes.
So do we deal with it? What do we do about it?
It's just to tap into the existing channels that are there, because we can't say we want to create something new. So tap up in the existing channels with the youth groups that are already existing, because I believe that a lot of youth groups within the country. There's one called a Young Urban Movement. Actually, it really helped them a lot, because these were women who are young, and they were really finding challenges to access water, because you need to pay. So they realized a way to come up with a solution. They gathered themselves and brought a solution, and they had a currency whereby they can purchase water easily without somebody violating them. So what we are advising youth is let them join the youth spaces whereby they can interact, because these youth spaces are there. Actually, most when you go to the NGOs meeting, you're being told that there are a lot of programs that have been launched for youths, but youths are not turning up. So it's just to call upon them, let them turn up to these things, and just in case somebody's on drug and requires rehabilitation, there are some organizations that offers free rehabilitation services. There's one within Kawawendani. It's free of charge. So let them tap into the existing channels and ensure they get help as soon as possible.
Yes. Right. We also have violence to the youth by the older people, like in workplaces, in school, like you get students being sexually harassed both ways. Like as a man, you don't get your results, or you fail because that female lecturer wanted something and you did not give, and vice versa. The female student does not get the results because the male lecturer wanted something and she could not give. So how do you deal with such situations? Because that's also gender-based, sexual gender-based violence. How do you deal with that particular situation, considering that this is from the older ones to the younger ones?
Yeah, actually, that has been a major challenge when it comes to power dynamics. You have that the other person has got power and the other one has got no power. So what can you do? Basically, the kind of violence perpetrated due to power dynamics means is only sexual harassment and also political violence. So beginning with sexual harassment, that is basically within our institution. I believe there have been existing channels to find solution. Actually, we have got a movement called Campus Me Too that deals with that, and they came up with 5 student-led demands. And through the students, they collected signatures and took a petition to the parliament, and the directive was sent from a Minister of Education to each and every institution to implement this thing. So what calls for us is to check on the implementation if it's going on within our institution. And Campus Me Too will be holding a press conference that is on 10th, the climax of student of activism, just to look and assess the situation. How is it? There's a directive that was given. How far are the institution from implementing it? So it's just to look at the existing channels and ensure that you are able to find solution. Also, another challenge comes when it comes to doing political violence. We have looked in the past general election, youths were used to cause violence, and at the end of the day, they do less suffers, whereby they are being killed, and also we have got police brutality. So this one calls for us to come up with policies that will really help us. Because around last week, there's a student who was killed by police in Machakos University.
Yeah.
So you see, these are difference of power dynamics. That's why we call it, let us come together, because there is power in numbers. And when we're united, we can't be broken. So we're calling us to come up together and let us follow through our county government and national government what existing ways are there for us to get help. And if they're not, then we should be given those platforms to ensure that we implement these policies, because I believe the policies are there. Implementation is the problem. But it becomes a problem when the people who are in power are not implementing them, and also as we are just quiet. So there is a big challenge, and we're calling to action for us to go and ask them what is wrong and let us implement the policies that already existing.
There's also the aspect of in the workplace where young ones, especially interns, get harassed by permanently employed individuals. So they take advantage of the younger ones, considering wanasema ni interns. So wanakuwa harassed, wanakuwa mistreated, they don't get what they're there for. Like, you're here to work and get your letter or be able to, build on your experience, but then you're here getting harassed and there's nothing you can do about it. How do you also work around that?
I think the Constitution is clear when it comes to Sexual Offences Act of 2006. When you are being violated, especially at the job market, they should be able to report that to the police officers and action will be taken. I think the Constitution currently says that the imprisonment of 3 years or a fine of 100,000. But we're working on that policy to ensure that the fine is really higher, to ensure that these perpetrators can get afraid from that. And also, if you find it very difficult to report these cases, rather you report it and you're being told you're being taken right and left, then what I can advise somebody is just quit that space, because there's no need for you to stay in a space whereby you're not having personal peace. So just rather quit that job. You'll find a job. If you are fit for the market, you'll find another job. Yes.
Right. You're the chairperson of the Kenyatta University Gender
Action
Movement. I'm so sorry. Gender Action Movement. Maybe take us through what you've been doing for the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence.
Actually, this year we have not done much because a lot of examination that is going on. But on Friday, during the start, we had a launch and a walk around the school. We're just doing campaign and letting to know the KU community about the series of that's ongoing. And all the same, we had a panel discussion on these issues, and our focus was so much on youth, but we will rather place it violence within Kenyan University, because that's where there's a lot of challenge, and this is where I will determine how the violence will be. Because maybe you are violated by a lecturer and you just keep quiet. You enter to the job market, you find a small position, and you can see this is what you can use against small people. So we always discuss that, and we do always have Twitter chat and Twitter spaces just to further the conversation within the social media. Yes, on Sunday we had a community outreach. This was to have a conversation with people outside there, because these are people our parents. So it's just a few number of that, and we do always partner with different movements outside there. One of them is Campus Me Too, whereby they'll be holding their press conference on Saturday. We'll send a few members to represent us and ensure us we can know how to follow up with the KU administration concerning the directive that was given from Ministry of Education. Yes.
What else do you do in through the year now, other than the 16 days? What else do you do all around the year in regards to curbing gender-based violence amongst the youth, rather?
We do always hold trainings, especially on sexual harassment. We do teach comrades what is sexual harassment, and most importantly on how to collect these evidences, because that evidence, it's very difficult for you to get justice. Apart from that, we do always have mentorship programs, especially for female students, to ensure they get easy access when it comes to the KU politics, and at least to have their number increased within the COSA. Apart from that, just capacity building also for our members and other members, because gender issue is something that it's not widespread. It's just a section of the students who are doing that course are aware of that. But what we do is to ensure in each and every course we find our representative, we train them on gender issues, so that when it comes to the after market, because these are the next leaders, these are the future leaders, they should be able to know about the gender issues. On the same also, we do always have sexual SRHR trainings on sexual reproductive health, so that they should be able to know, and we reduce cases of early pregnancies and students getting violated, especially in the relationship sector. Yes.
There is a positive and a negative for everything.
Yes.
And we have a lot of women empowerment out here. These women who are empowered and they become over-empowered to the extent of undermining, underestimating, and mistreating men, which is also gender-based violence. What is your take? What do you think? What do you think can be done about it?
I think that calls into action for us to check which approach are we using when it comes to empowerment. Because even when you look into the history of how feminism came about, we had radical feminism who never wanted to do anything to do with men. But as time changes, by you realize that when we want to cause change, we can't do it with one segment of the society. We have to involve men. So what we call from now going forward is that we need to have men involved in empowerment issues of women, so that we bridge the gap. So we can't talk about having gender equality yet to only empower one segment of the society. Rather, what can happen is that when you continue doing this way in the near future, then we'll be talking about men getting empowered, but we don't want to sort that problem. So we want something to be sorted once and have the empowerment done once. And rather, even what I check is that at some point women are not disadvantaged, but a certain segment of class is disadvantaged, because even at men at some point are disadvantaged. So we rather tackle this issue from a different angle and looking at every person who is generally disadvantaged despite their gender, so that we empower each and every person equally. And that goes back into socialization. So when you're having our children being socialized, then they should be able to know the issues of men and women issues. So they get socialized as one, because we can't have empowering older women, yet we have younger people who are coming up who are not being empowered. And thus we are calling for youth to be given spaces, because when youth are not empowered, then the gender parity increases. So we want youth to be given these spaces, youth to get empowered.
The youth are empowered, yes, but the girls are a little bit being empowered more than the boys. Yeah,
so it calls into action, and that's why we're having this engagement to see on what we can do. But rather, what is happening is that we need to escape from the word women empowerment, but rather empower those who are less privileged. Because then you're having marginalized communities that do suffer, a lot of people from the rural areas, people from informal settlements. So we focus on it as a class issue, not a gender issue. Because a woman in the top tier class does not require empowerment, because she's someone who can access and control resources. But what about those people in the lower class? Both men and women cannot access any resource because it's being propagated through the capitalist system. So it's just for us to check the approach when we're doing this empowerment, and to ensure that we empower both men and women for us to reduce the gender parity.
So it's just finding the balance between empowering both the men and the women.
Yeah, exactly.
There's also the aspect of traditions. Most of us, rather most people, have been brought up knowing that because I'm from this or this culture, this is how men treat women and this is how women treat men. But then most of them are negative practices towards gender. And there was a new one I saw a couple of days back. There's a new theory. There's the FGM for women, yes, but then there's a new theory that is now MGM, male genital mutilation. I don't know if people have seen it, whereby a particular percentage of people feels like normal circumcision of young boys, channeling them from being boys to men, is harmful. What do you think? So they feel like young boys should not go through that process of circumcision into being men. The kawaida, when they finish primary, they go through that process, then the healing process, and then they heal, and then as they get into high school, they are now men. So these people who feel like a female genital mutilation is the same as male genital mutilation, and they are basing it as gender-based violence, as a traditional malpractice. What do you think?
I think that is just overrated, because when the war fighting against FGM started, there's an issue whereby they were claiming that if men move from traditional circumcision to the modern circumcision, then they should be aware whereby you can move from the FGM to a more modern female circumcision. But when you look at the health implication for both, realize that for women it's really high and it has got no benefit compared to male circumcision, but there's a lot of benefit for it. So I think those are just people who are finding ways to ensure that FGM still stays by just making comparison with the male circumcision. But I believe for male circumcision is more something that is very good and has got a lot of health benefits to men. So it's not something that should be placed on debate. Yeah, it's just something that it has to be there. And what I believe is optional because it's not in most cultures. And nowadays circumcision doesn't mean you're a man because there's some individual, some boys who are born immediately after birth that they get circumcised, not to make them men, but rather to just ensure that these people have good health. Yeah, and that's why we're moving. We want to change the method of socialization so that we don't look at cultural practices to define who a man is, but rather how the socialization is and what values as a boy do you hold that will make you fit in the society as a good man.
So we say no.
We have to say no to that.
Okay, all right, thank you. As we are winding up, something you can say to the young people in regards to ending gender-based violence, coming against gender-based violence, especially as we come to the end of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence.
I believe what I can say to them is that to young youths who are listening to this show today is that we should be able to tap into the existing channels that are existing for us to get help and also ensure that we should not be used to propagate political differences during general election, because at the end of the day we do suffer a lot, and we realize that we have got few spaces when it comes to the government, within the government. So we need to call and follow up with our legislative arms and tell them why we have few spaces, and they should be able to increase a lot of space to us. Also have got relevant policies that will protect us against this kind of GBV. So just call into action. Let us come together, because when we're united, there's a lot we can do. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for your knowledge and your time. Where can we get you on social media? How can people be part of your organization?
Actually, you can meet us on social media and join to us. But those within KU, we always send our links into WhatsApp messages. But outside there, I think there are a lot of places where you can interact. For me, within Facebook, Wesley Otange, Twitter, Wesley Tom _12. Those are places where you can find me easily and we can continue sharing the conversation. Also, those will find time to come to the press conference that will be at ZTech University. That is on Saturday as we climax at the show of 16 days of activism. Also a good place where you can learn and interact and create an lasting network. Yes.
Social media handles?
Wesley Otange, that is Facebook and Instagram. For Twitter is Wesley Tom 12.
All right. Thank you so much, Wesley, for your time and for blessing us with your knowledge. Tumeshukuru sana. I do hope you've learned something, you've grasped something. You can keep sending in your feedback. We will be coming back after a short break with our conversation with Adinath in regards to modeling. We are shifting a bit in regards to modeling. What is modeling? Why is modeling important? What is the essence of modeling generally? Allow me to read some feedback. We have John Marambu tuned in from Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, Kakamega. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mash Dairy Goat Farm. Who are those feeling that FGM should be done to our girls for them to be women? In this day and age, those must be dealt with by the government and myself. I agree. You can keep sending in your feedback. Thank you so much for tuning in, Mashdiri and John Marambu and everyone else. You can send in your feedback at KUTV Kenya on Facebook, KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, and at KUTV Kenya on Instagram. Talk to us. Let us know your thoughts and your feelings and your opinions in regards to today's conversations, but do not touch that dial. We'll be coming back to you after this short break.